we start, we want to give our thoughts and all our best wishes to everyone in Ukraine right now. We have lots of members of the Trees Around the Globe Student Research Campaign, students and educators and citizen scientists and researchers that are from Ukraine, and we know they are going through a unbelievably terrible time right now. So we want to all our from our campaign team and everyone with GLOBE and NASA, our hearts and thoughts go out to all of them. And you will be seeing a video from a group of students and teacher who were participating in this webinar, but they sent a video that they created prior to the conflict. So we will be showcasing that, and we will be, then if there's any questions for those students and teachers, we can collect those, and at some point we can get those to the teacher and students. So I just wanted to showcase that first. So today is all about the European Phenology 2022 Spring Tree Campaign with student research presentations from across the globe, the GLOBE Europe and Eurasia region. So we're gonna have presentations from students from Croatia, Malta, Switzerland, and the recording from Ukraine today. We will also be focusing on a couple other things. So let me show you, there's a lot in this webinar. I'm going to do a warm-up activity, and then I'm going to be talking a little bit about some of the metrics as I always do, and then highlighting, the land cover of, the GLOBE countries in Europe and Eurasia region. And I'm going to do a little reminder about IVSS. And then we will then show the second part of the interview with the GLOBE Europe and Eurasia Regional Coordination Office's Lenka Klager, who is also on today. Peter Falcon did an interview with Lenka last month, and we showed the first half of it at last month's webinar, and we're going to show the second half during this webinar. And it's all about, the importance of taking tree height, land cover, greenings, carbon cycle observations, and what they mean in the real world. So we're excited to show that second half of the interview. And then we will have a featured presentation all about the European Phenology 2022 Spring Tree Campaign. It will be Bára Semeráková. She is also from the GLOBE Europe and Eurasia Regional Coordination Office. And then we will have some Q&A for Bára following that. And then we will get into the featured teacher-student presentations. We will go Croatia, Malta, Switzerland, and Ukraine. I just put those in alphabetical order. That's the only order that, that's all that means is just I put it in alphabetical order. And we will then, after each presentation, we will have some Q&A, because we do understand, and we thank you so much, some of the students and teachers coming in today to present are up later in the evening, and we do not want to hold them, for very, very long, because we know we're in the middle of a school week. And, as you know, my 14-year-old son, I tell him sleep's very important. So, you need to rest your brain at night so you can, be set for the next day. But we want to thank you all in advance for these awesome presentations. And as I mentioned earlier, this is the reason why we have lots of people joining this webinar today, because of you students, and showcasing the great stuff you're doing in your local environment, helping us understand the bigger picture. And then we will have some final discussions at the end. You may have seen on the previous agenda that I sent out that Peter Nelson, one of our campaign team members, he was on there. He could not join us today. You'll see it on here, only because he is having a family emergency right now, so he can't be with us. So we are going to focus on a couple things, and some of the things that he was going to focus on, we're going to hold that for the April webinar as well. So here we go. We like to do this because it's a good little warm up. Here we have two pictures of two different trees, okay? I want you to take a look at these two trees, and and students, talk amongst yourselves about this as well. Which one of these trees, or maybe both of them, or none of them, it could be a trick question, which one of these trees represents the ones that are found in the Europe and Eurasia region? So go ahead and take a couple minutes to think about that. Also, those of you who have access to the chat, please feel free to you know, some ideas of what you see, which one you think is part of the Europe and Eurasia region, and you know, maybe why, and what are some of the things that you can observe in each one of these pictures, because that's one thing that we're really focusing on with the campaign, is trying to figure out exactly what you are seeing in all these pictures, because you're seeing trees, but you're also seeing land cover, and you're seeing other things that GLOBE measures. You can see sky color here, you can see clouds and everything. So go ahead and take a minute or two to do that and put that in the chat. And Peter, if you would, if anybody adds something in the chat, you know, please feel free to, you know, read that to everyone. So, you know, I'll stop for a couple minutes and then you can all take a look at this. And then I have some slides that, you know, following this, which goes into a little bit more, you know, highlights what these trees actually are. So thank you. And, you know, check this out and, you know, talk amongst yourselves and write in the chat what you see. All right, we'll give it maybe about 30 seconds yet to, you know, take any anything in the chat, Peter?
No, nothing yet.
All
Hopefully
right.
folks will unmute and say a few things if they don't want to write in the chat.
All right, so if there's nothing in the chat, feel free, anyone, to unmute and, you know, talk a little bit about what you see here and which one of these you think. Yep.
We have three comments. Ramona says the first image, the Talatomatosa, grows in Europe. And Petra mentions that the right tree is more tough. My students' words.
Yeah.
And Marcus group, they say, we will show you a lime tree too. The elephant helps to find out that it only could be in a European zoo. So the elephant is a dead giveaway of where it could be from. And then Gabriel, he writes, the first tree seems to be growing in an area with rain, while the second is from a savanna region.
Ah, that's a great observation. Yeah, I really like that. It's a great one. I like the tough description. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Does anybody want to unmute and say anything about these images?
Yeah, we have more comments. Aline says that I think the one on the left grows in Europe, but not in Ireland as much. Plenty of green leaves on the first one. And then Jesse mentions, I think the second picture is from Africa. So I'm wondering if that elephant is kind of like a, you know, a hint there of where that tree could be from.
It's not a bear. Oh no, I guess it is an elephant. All right. So yeah, great descriptors, and this is exactly what we're trying to do here. You know, we had some great, you know, identifications here, because you know, you're looking at these things that could, you know, either determine that it's part of the European Eurasia region, and other things determine that it's definitely not part of this region. So a little bit about these trees. So the first one, the Tilia tomentosa, is also the silver linden tree, and it's basically in the US, and it's a silver lime, as mentioned by some of the students in Switzerland, in the UK, and is a species of flowering plant in the family Malvaceae, native to southeastern Europe and southwestern Asia, from Romania and the Balkans east to western Turkey, occurring at moderate altitudes. So there's lots of these in the Europe and Eurasia region. The second one, and if you were part of our campaign last year, we had a special presentation on this from South Africa. This is the African baobab tree, the Adansonia digitata. It's the most widespread tree species of the genus Adansonia, the baobabs, and is native to the African continent. The trees usually grow as solitary individuals and are large and distinctive elements of savanna. So great, Gabriel, he mentioned, I think Gabriel was one who mentioned that it's probably a savanna, biome, or scrubland vegetation. Some large individuals live to well over 1,000 years of age. And if you go back to the webinar page, you can see the archived webinar focusing on the baobab tree. And our speaker was talking a lot about, some of the uses of, the baobab tree, from the buds to the leaves to the bark and all these things. Lots of different cultural, medicinal, and edible, you know, uh, things that are taken from the baobab tree. So, feel free to check that out at your leisure. All right, so thank you for that, and great descriptors. All right, here's our core campaign team, which I, showcase, all the time. You have Peter. Peter and I are on right now. Peter Nelson, as I said, can't be there. We have two emeritus. They were part of the campaign. They're still officially, emeritus, meaning that they work with the campaign. They just can't be here all the time because Dr. Christopher Schumann is focusing more on his science research and a new initiative on climate change at the NASA Goddard Space Flight Center. And Dorian is working a lot with lifelong learner program, with the GLOBE program as well, and the Global Precipitation Measurement Mission. So as you know, everybody can't be everywhere all the time. So, but this is our core campaign team, and I'm proud to be a part of this campaign and be the lead for it.
Hey,
So,
Brian, just to let you
yeah,
know, Bára did join. So we have
all right,
wonderful, talented Bára, and we have two of the youngest members that joined with Lenka there, her kids. So I just want to say hello to those guys. It's like our youngest GLOBE students. So welcome.
excellent, awesome, welcome. All right, so with this said, we are so close right now to hitting 100,000 measurements for the life of the campaign. As you can see, if you go all the way to the bottom under full campaign, we have almost 46,000 tree height measurements from over 18,400 global sites, 25,300 plus land cover measurements at almost 17,000 sites, and 27,000 green up, green down measurements from over 730 global sites. And as I always say, and I feel I need to do this, I'm going to say 99.9% of the green up, green down measurements come from the efforts and the students and educators who are part of the European Phenology campaign. So we thank you so much for that. As you can see, we're at 98,493 measurements from 36,075 global sites. And this is since the beginning of the campaign, September 15, 2018. And as you know, I showcase this because, there's lots of folks who, students and educators who do IVSS projects related to the campaign. So we want to provide them, this data, that we have all this data available for them to use, in not just their location, but from other places around the world, similar latitudes, areas across the planet, and they can see what other people are taking observations of, and what the tree heights are, what the land cover and greenings are in other locations around the world. We also, this is our I think it's our 43rd webinar for the campaign. We've had 8 special webinars. These are just ones that popped up sporadically, and we're going to have another one very soon in April. So next month, we're going to have a special one, and we'll talk about that in a second. We currently have participants from 58 countries, and as part of the campaign, we have 56 blogs with over 140,000 views. So, congratulations to everyone for, providing and contributing to all this information, all this amazing stuff in the GLOBE database and as part of the campaign. As a reminder, we are closing in on basically the last few days, last like week and a half of before you need to get in your 2022 IVSS projects. And as you know, the focus this year is engineering solutions for a changing climate. And highlighting this, March 11th, 2022 is the due date, the final date to submit all the student reports and projects. So you have 9 days left to do this. Okay, so, get that in if you haven't already. I know some of you on here have submitted already. I have gotten emails from folks as part of the campaign that they have submitted these already and attributed, some of their research to the Trees Around the Globe Student Research Campaign. So that's great. And here's a timeline, and you can go to the link. I didn't put a link on here. We'll put the link. We'll have the link later, the IVSS link. but you can find all this. This is just a screenshot taken from that, where it gives a very important date starting back from when it was first discussed in October with a webinar, all the way down through a drawing for stipends in on Earth Day, April 22nd, 2022. So once again, March 11th, 2022 is the final day for submitting the IVSS student reports. And we're super excited because every year we seem to get more of them. We get hundreds and hundreds of these from, I don't remember how many countries it was last year, but it was at least, I'm pretty sure, 20 countries who submitted these as part of GLOBE. Hopefully we get more. I might be low with that number. I don't remember, but thank you for doing that. And those of you who have done it already, and thank you in advance for those of you who are going to submit. And before we get into the meat of this presentation, the webinar, is that I want to also remind you that the ICESat-2, the Ice Cloud and Land Elevation Satellite 2 Orbit Track app, is now available for Android and iOS. And there's 2 different links here that you can go to find this. So what we're showing here is this is a way that you can find out where ICESat-2 in the future. And if you want to go out and take tree height observations, you can go find exactly where ICESat-2 will be and if it will hit the trees in your area. Now, even though, like, you see these dots right here, let me grab the pen here. You see these dots, okay, this is showing the radius, or actually the diameter of, basically a 25-mile radius here. But what you're seeing here, these little dots, these photons, where they will hit. And when you click on that in the app, it'll tell you exactly what time it's going to be there. Now, if it goes over trees, it's a good chance that you're going to get a tree height observations from ICESat-2. The only issue is that the very thick clouds in the sky, or even some cirrus clouds with the ice crystals, even though the satellite is sending laser pulses down at that location, you may not get tree height observations because we necessarily don't like, ICESat-2 does not like really thick clouds or cirrus clouds, which the ice crystals refract a lot of the laser light. So it doesn't allow it to go down and hit the treetops and then come back to the satellite. So you may not get it. But what this app is intended for is to know where ICESat-2 is if it's in your location. You can pop in your latitude and longitude, or if you have your location services turned on, you can click select location or use current location, and then it'll show you when ICESat-2 will be near you, and when it will be, and specifically basically what second it will be flying over and dropping these laser pulses down near your location. So feel free to check all those out, and we'll have these links once again on our on the webinar page when we post the archive webinar from today. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about what Peter was going to talk about briefly, and we mentioned this before, but we have these GLOBE land cover maps to help in student research and to help you identify what the land cover types are in your area, in your countries. Okay, and we have all of these links here, and they're all going to be included once again. They're on the webinar page right now, but we'll include them again. We have them broken down into the 6 GLOBE regions, from the Asia and Pacific, Africa, Europe and Eurasia, Near East and North Africa, Latin America and Caribbean, and North America. And we have them split up into separate Google slide decks. And that's what each one of these links will take you to. Now, we're going to I'm going to hop out of here for a second out of this presentation and go to the actual no, discard. Sorry about that. I'm going to pop here, and we're going to go to this. All right. So this is what it's going to look like when you are, at the land cover map. And this one that I'm showing you here these are all 126 GLOBE countries broken down into regions. This is just the slide deck that includes all of them. All right. We're going to go to GLOBE Europe and Eurasia, and I'm just going to highlight a couple of these. All right. So when you go, you will see that this is all about GLOBE Europe and Eurasia, and I'm just going to randomly just roll through and grab one. Okay, here's Denmark. All right. We have Denmark, and what you're going to find on these maps are these color-coded areas. These are all the land covers taken from our land cover viewer tool, one of the two major tools that we're focusing on this year in the campaign. As you can see, the color codes are in this legend here. And you will see here that the majority, it seems, in Denmark is cropland. And you'll see 64.42% is cropland, but also there are forest, herbaceous vegetation, herbaceous wetland, built up, meaning basically urban environments in cities. And you can see that towards like Copenhagen especially, okay, and some of the other cities here, Aalborg, you can see around the city centers, you see a lot of that red. And then we have the permanent water bodies, and we're not focusing on like the large ones outside of the country. We're in international waters. We're focusing on the ones that are within the borders of the country. And you can see there's some lakes and rivers and streams and things that are rolling through here, and you can see that. And then you'll also see, and I know Peter Nelson, there may not be all of these up for every single country yet. Peter is working on getting the tree height data. But you know, as you can see here in Denmark, there isn't any real data out there yet. So Peter put this up there because we're trying to figure out why that data is not there. So, you know, stay tuned for that. But if you go to, let's go here, Croatia. We have students from Croatia here. So if you go here and you look at Croatia, you can see it's also distributed pretty well. It looks like the majority is forest, 58.74%. All the way down to, well, cropland is second, and it goes all the way down to herbaceous wetland is the least, and that is at 0.33%. But then when you look at the tree height distribution throughout Croatia, you can see that the mean result is 15.03 meters tall. The max, you know, the max is about 37 meters and minimum 3 meters. And this are all the trees that have been measured, whether it be, you know, it's in the database, whether it be, you know, via remote sensing from a satellite, or some of these might be in here where people actually measured these directly. You know, scientists were out in the field measuring these directly. But what we have here for each one of these countries in the Europe and Eurasia region, you will see that we have some of these for everything. Where there's France, for example, where there's lots of cropland and lots of forests. You can see the northern part of it seems to be mostly cropland. Well, of course, you see Paris, and that's the majority of the built up. And you can see Toulouse and Bordeaux and Lyon is the area where it's very built up, and you know, you see a lot of urban environment there. And then you can also see the mean, max, and minimum tree heights for that area as well. So I just wanted to showcase this, and I know Peter always goes into better detail than I do because this is more his forte. He does this for a living. He is a cartography professor and works with land cover. As you know, he's the land cover science lead for the NASA Globe Observer. But I wanted to showcase this for you in case any of you need any last minute help on your IVS projects, or you just want to find out, you know, what the land cover is from all these different countries across the Europe and Eurasia region. And then you can also go all over the world and you know, check other countries as well. You know, here we have, you know, Bhutan and India. And then if I just randomly scroll down, we have Israel, and then we have Italy. So we have, you know, all 126 globe countries that are part of this. And, you know, we hope this helps out in your in some of your research. So with all that said, I am going to pop back to the PowerPoint, and let me go to, all right. Sorry, this one
Hey, Brian, a quick
shifted a
question
little bit.
regarding the data there. If students
Right.
want it, they could zoom in much closer, right, to focus in on a certain area. So it's not
Yes,
just,
they could.
yeah, it's not just the entire country, but you can actually zoom in if you wanted to focus on a certain region where you're studying, and that's a
Yep.
great data set to use.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, you can zoom in, you know, and see your specific area. That's just showing that whole, you know, the whole coverage of the, you know, the overarching coverage of each of the countries. So right now we are going to get into the 2022 Spring Phenology campaign. I'm going to play the second half of the interview, and then I will pass it over to Bára to present a little more in depth about, you know, the 2022 Spring Phenology campaign, and then we will jump into the student presentations. So let me go ahead and go to the video, and I will start this video and we'll see. It's, you know, we'll play probably most of it. We don't want to, we'll probably play it up probably about 5-6 minutes, because it is 11 minutes. And I know we don't want to hold the students up for too long. And this, I should have also mentioned, this interview, the full interview, is available on the webinar page of our Trees Campaign website. So you can feel free to show it this way, that you can feel free to take a look at it then. So let me go ahead and start this.
Our next question is, let me look to my list here. Okay, so we talked about all the different campaigns that we have. There's two that come to mind that perhaps there's some synergy there between the two. And that is the phenology campaign, and also the tree campaign, the Trees Around the Road GLOBE Student Research Campaign, which I'm a part of. In your opinion, do you see any synergy there between the two? Is there anything that students can work on between the two, or if there's something that seems to mesh between those two campaigns?
Well, I have to say that the Trees campaign team does a really great job to put different types of globe measurement, different types of activities, and also different campaigns together. Because, and I'm really happy that the phenology campaign is kind of part of these activities, part of the Trees campaign. I think it's extremely interesting and important to look at any little piece of nature, at the tree that the school chooses or their surrounding from different points of view. So in the phenology campaign, we focus on the green up and green down, but it's important to also know how high is the tree, for example, which is what schools can learn in the Trees campaign, or learn how the surrounding looks like, what is the land cover in your place, and other activities. It helps you to understand your environment better, better view into it.
And as GLOBE likes to say, the more data, the better. So if you're out there making one measurement, it's totally fine to go make a separate measurement as well. I think it just can add to that. Let's see, next question. Do you recommend students and teachers in the GLOBE Europe and Eurasia region to work with data, GLOBE data from land cover and tree height as well, and perhaps satellite data? Do you think that's helpful or useful for the students in the area as well?
Yeah, we definitely, this is something that I haven't mentioned before, that we definitely try to motivate teachers and students to work in data, with data in general, and to share them, to upload them to the GLOBE database, so that the data can be used by the school later on, by other schools, that they can also help scientists in their research. So this is something that we consider really important. And yeah, it's definitely important to combine the two views, because you can go out and do some measurements, but this is something that happens now. You can see the situation now, but with the satellite view, you can really have much more broad view. You can also see some historical changes, which is something that's very difficult to see with your outdoor activity. So it gives you a better overview. And of course, it's important to measure or focus also on the land cover and tree height, and have the better view. Sorry,
that's totally fine. Yeah, you can totally get the global aspect with satellite data, and then with students adding that more pinpoint accurate imagery from their observations. I think it really goes hand in hand. So I totally agree with you that students should go out there and make as many measurements as they can, but also to collocate that with satellites if they possibly can, if they happen to be overhead. Next question is, we're always talking about students gathering data, and it's great that they do that, but then what do they do with it next? And one of the things that GLOBE does is they create these student symposiums for our students. And one of them is the GLOBE IVSS. I'm sure you're familiar with. Do you recommend, or how important is it for students and the Europe and Eurasia region to work on research, submit the research as an IVSS project, and align their research with all these different campaigns that we've been talking about.
Yeah, well, us in the regional office or in the phenology campaign, we know that the schools in our region do really many great activities, many great projects, but it's just because we cooperate closely with them. But it's so important to let about these activities know also to people from other regions, from other parts of the world. And this is exactly what schools can do through the IVSS. So they just share their results. They show how are the outcomes of their hard work, of their trying. So they can inspire other schools, they can inspire other members of the GLOBE program. And so this is very important. This is, I think, core of the GLOBE program. And also it brings them the benefit that they can get awarded by badges, but they can also get a feedback to their work, which is a perfect opportunity to have a feedback to your work from scientists, from experts. This can really help students to move on in their work. So yes, we definitely support this idea, and we try to motivate schools to join IVSS and create their projects.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop it there so we can move on. But yeah, so great words from Lenka there about the importance, and Peter, great importance of IVSS, and not just taking the data, but making sense of the data in the real world, and then showcasing it how it can be used in the real world with these student research projects that are submitted to IVSS, and then also the collaboration amongst all the European Phenology campaign, as well as the Trees Around the Globe Student Research campaign. So we're so excited to be collaborating, be partners with the European Phenology campaign as the Trees Around the Globe Student Research campaign. So with that said, we are going to lead into today's featured presentation, and it's going to be Bára Semeráková from the GLOBE Europe and Eurasia Regional Coordination Office, the Teresa Education Center in the Czech Republic. And she's going to, talk a little bit more about the European Phenology 2022 Spring Tree Campaign. So I will pass it over to you, Bára. I will stop sharing, and feel free to take the floor.
Thank you, Brian. Hello, everybody. Thank you for inviting me as well for this session, for this webinar. And I just want to say that I'm here as a voice of Lenka, because Lenka, who is the main coordinator of the campaign, she's with us today, but she cannot really speak since she has some sore throat. So although you will see that the presentation has my name, it's actually Lenka's piece of work. So with this introduction, let me start, and I would be really happy if there are any questions. So you can ask, feel free to ask, and I will try to be brief so that we can give the floor to students very soon. And I am very happy that I can see so many familiar faces here today. So let me share the screen. Okay. Can you hear me well? Is it okay?
Yep, looks good. Looks good, sounds good.
Sounds good, looks good, perfect. So trees are beautiful. That's the nickname of the campaign, because as Lenka explained in that video, the word phenology is not that much widely known. So we'd rather talk about trees than about phenology. At the first communication that we have with teachers or with the students, and obviously then we explain what phenology is. And most of you, I think, who are attending this webinar, you already know what phenology is. Just that perhaps we don't sometimes realize how important it is, and that it's something that is very natural to all of us. We notice the changes that are happening in our, in the environment around us, and that are happening with some regularity every year. Like it's a cycle of, in our region, for example, it's this beautiful cycle of winter coming, the first snow. It's always, everyone is, wow, it's the first snow of the year, right? And it's early or it's late this year. And then the first flowers, we already have the snowdrops and all those flowers out here, although it's quite pretty freezing weather still. And it's like that. It's something that we notice, but the scientists, they can take it even further because they notice it and they observe it with in a more rigorous way. And they do it actually for many, many years. As you can see, there are some records of the sakura flowering. Sakura is the cherry, the beautiful ornamental cherry that they like almost worship in Japan and in those countries. And as you can see, there is on this graph on the right, I would just, yeah. There is the date when the peak of sakura bloom is over the years. On the bottom line, you can see the years, and on the y-axis, you can see the dates. It's the end of March and the beginning of April. And as you can see, the dates over time, according to the historical records, they were like fluctuating, but in last, let's say 150 years, it's just dropping. The sakura trees are blossoming earlier and earlier. So this is just to show that the records exist, and that this was always something really fascinating for people, to observe. And it was not only fascinating, but it was also very much important, because many important things, and actually even the lives or livelihoods of people, of our ancestors even, they were dependent on what is happening and when it is happening in around us in the nature. So when we take, for example, the agriculture, it is still so much important, like at what date we get how much rain, and in what date the plants are able to, have the fruits or to give the harvest, or what time we should harvest the crops. Everything is connected to the phenology. Or if there are some insects, for example, that are very much harmful for those crops, if they occur earlier or later, it also matters. Because if they occur too early, perhaps the farmers are not ready for that. So that's agriculture. It's, I think, one of the huge domains when the phenology was always very much important, although perhaps it was not called phenology. And then the climate change, the changing weather, and the changes in the climate that we can observe in last, let's say, 50 years, these have a huge impact on phenology. On the phenology phenomenons. And actually, we can see that those small things that we observe around us, they can be symptoms of something bigger that is changing around us, some patterns, regional patterns in weather, or perhaps even some bigger things that are just changing around us. And there is so much of research on that, how the changing climate is actually impacting the different, times of the year. I mean, the times when the trees bloom, when the birds migrate, when the insects get reproduced, and many other things. So that's what I wanted to say, that phenology is not only about trees or not only about vegetation, but it's also involves the animals and the insects and all the living beings that have those periodical cycles. And the last thing, which is important as well, and most of you, I think you also know it very well. The healthcare has so much of connections with the phenology, and one of the most known are the allergies, because your nose, I think, is the biggest tool to observe what is happening in phenology in spring. So once the pollen start to get into the air, you know it for sure. So these are just the 3 domains, and obviously the forestry, tourism, and there are many more that we talk about. And what we do in the campaign, or what is in the campaign, you can see on those pictures. And those pictures are here because this is what is going to happen in the next weeks. We can even see it now. Some of the trees, they are already bud bursting. So that's why I just call this Join the Europe and Eurasia Globe Schools in Observing the Bud Burst. And here you have a couple of pictures how the students are observing or directly measuring the leaves, and they are checking if the buds are opening or not. And when I will continue, what else can be done in those months that are coming, what we offer to schools, then basically we have 5 activities. Those activities are available at the website of the phenology campaign. You can download it, even if you don't want to register or you don't want to be part of the community, you can always download it and use it with your students or even with your kids. It's very easy to do. So we have the activity that also focus on green up data. So we help schools to collect the data and to upload the data to the database, and also how to work with the visualization system so that they can get a graph like this that you see here. And then the campaign continues, if I will be able to continue actually. Yeah, continues with the autumn activities, which typically they start around the end of August, because that's already the time when the trees are getting ready for the winter sleep. And here we have 3 activities. First, determining or defining the tree, and then observing the color change, and also the date of when the leaf falls off from the tree. And obviously we again talk about the data, because the autumn data of the green down protocol are very colorful, and it's really beautiful to work with that, to have it in the visualization system, and to download it and present it in the classroom. So that's what you can join in autumn. And again, these are to download and they are for free for everyone. And Lenka, she already talked about the synergies with the Trees Around the Globe campaign. So that's what we also want to emphasize, that it's not only about, focusing on this one bud and one leaf. I mean, there are 4 of them, but just on some specific part of the tree, but the students should also take the bigger picture, so they can measure the height of the tree, the circumference, they can use the apps for that. And obviously the precipitation, the air temperature are also the key elements for, the phenology phases. And one more aspect on the top of that is the carbon cycle, and how the trees are actually, what role they play in exchanging the CO2 between the green mass and the air and the soil as well. So for that, we have the carbon cycle activities. Again, those you will download together with those 5 activities that I showed you for the spring. And I just want to show you some students' work that they did, some posters and all that, so that you can imagine that carbon cycle, it can be a very difficult and complicated and complex topic, But the activities that we prepared for schools, they are very easy. So even the kids at the schools, not at the universities or colleges, but even the kids from the elementary schools, they actually play with that. So if I will manage to play it now, let me try it. Okay, wait. I'm not sure if. Yeah, now it should go. So the first thing is about learning about the carbon cycle in general, what it is, how it works. The second one is about the role that tree plays in the cycle. Basically, it's about the photosynthesis and about the respiration of the tree. And the next activity follows the life of the tree from the small seedling to the big adult tree. And actually it shows how it works with the storage of the carbon during the life of the tree, that it differs. And the last one is the mapping of the carbon release flows or carbon intake flows in the area where the students live. So they can actually make a map of that. So thanks to all the schools who contributed. And let's go to the next. And this is the website where everything is available. And I want to also invite you for the webinars, which we organize and which will be advertised to the community. So please don't hesitate to join us. And also I would like to invite you to explore our Padlet that we have and that you will find under Get Inspired tab in our website. And if you feel like you can join our community, you can contribute to our discussion forum. If you have never been to any discussion forum on GlobeGov, I think our forum is good to start with, because it's very lively and you can see different trees from different parts of Europe greening up and many other things that schools post there. So I think that's it. Thank you so much. And this was work of Lenka. So if you have any questions, even after this webinar, you can always contact Lenka. So I will stop sharing this and I will just shortly show the Padlet. I hope we have 1 minute for that. So the Padlet looks like this, and it's like all made of the contributions that the schools send us, be it presentations about their projects or the videos that they submit for different that we did. So you can see many things here. Feel free to go through it or to play the videos or to see the presentations, online tools like Bakelits or other Padlets. And through this you can learn like examples of what schools do. Or if you even want to collaborate with someone, you can see who are very active schools. So that's it. And yeah, so if you have any questions, I'm here to take them. Yeah, hi, Peter.
I mean, first off, you have a lot of great comments about, in particular, the artwork. People really love to see artwork in projects, and we kind of feel like there's not enough of that going on. So every time I see the phenology campaign work, I'm always amazed at all the different avenues that you have to to engage students with artwork and the Padlet and so many different videos and things like that. So it's great to see all these different forms of expression students can show and talk about their research. So not only do we have questions, well, comments about the wonderful artwork that you guys have, but there's another question from HP here. And they ask, my question is, do the learners work in groups or individually? And how do you share their findings in a wider, how do you share the findings?
So is that question like if in the individual school they work in the groups? Okay,
Yeah, so,
I will just,
sure.
Yeah, I will answer perhaps both these aspects. So yes, it depends on the teacher, right? How many kids he wants to or she wants to involve. So we have groups of when the whole class joins, or we have groups when there are only like 2-3 students active. So it always depends. It's the same with other GLOBE activities, right? It always depends on the capacity of the teacher and the students. So that we don't really define how many learners it is, but it can be a work for individual, but it can be work for the team. It's always better if it's a team, but it's not impossible to do it even if it's an individual. And when it comes to a collaboration like across the schools, yes, there is a collaboration going on, and Lenka is the master of that. She always puts together the teams of students, teachers from different schools, and then it's up to them how much they collaborate, if they exchange some emails or if they just, observe the same tree, for example. That can be also a form of collaboration, right? And what was the second part of your question?
Let me go back to it very quickly. And how do you share their findings?
Okay, so yeah, there are many different ways. Like, for example, this webinar, right? We have schools from our region here. Then we have other webinars that are organized from our side. Then we have the regional meeting. So basically, those are the online opportunities. Then obviously, what the schools can do, they can even submit the IVSS project, which I'm not sure now if we have one actually on phenology. I am not really aware of that now, because there are actually not that many from our region. And yeah, we have this Padlet, and the biggest, I think, sharing buzzing place is the discussion forum. So there, it's the schools who share the findings mostly. It's like I would say like a crowdsourcing, because if Lenka has to do everything, like to share what the schools would be sending through email, that would be crazy, right? Because we have like 200 schools in the campaign. So, I mean, and those are not just like fictive schools, or, they are really active. So they can send so many things. So it's better they post it to this forum, and then everybody can look it up if they want to, or they can follow the forum. So I think that's it. Olenka, if you want to add something, please.
I just want to say big thanks, Bára, to you for taking the presentation and being such a great voice of the campaign today. I'm sorry I'm not joining anyhow, but I really can't speak much today. But I'll just now share my email in the chat. So if you feel like asking anything else later on, just write to me. I'll be happy to write to you or connect with you anytime later on.
And I've gotten a couple of private messages in chat speaking about the Padlet. They ask, can you please ask Bára or Lenka to post the Padlet in the chat box? So
Yeah, sure.
Can you please post the link in the chat box? People are very interested to see that and see what the students are doing.
Yeah, I'm doing it. Yeah, that was my intention to do it. Just that I cannot speak in the same time when I should do something else.
And you have a comment by Bushra who says, wow, what a perfect use of digital tools like Padlet. So I'm very impressed with the things you guys are doing.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, we use Padlet, we like that tool, but some of the schools, they use so much the other ones, not only the Padlets, but this Wakelet, the book creator. they actually use that to post their own observations, or to collaborate together with the school from some other town or some other country, and they just create like a common Padlet or common Wakelet, and they have it all there. So if you go to our Padlet, there you will find the other Padlets and Wakelets of other schools, and this is the real wonder if you go there. So don't go only to our Padlet that is in the chat, but click on the other ones that you find there. Yeah, you will find amazing stuff there. Yeah.
Before we move on to the next one, the equipment to do the phenology campaign, is it expensive, or do you need a lot of things to do this? What would students need to get their hands on in order to go out there and make these types of measurements?
Yeah, you need a very expensive equipment, and that is your eyes. They are very, like, this is something that, you cannot buy, but you have it. So that's something that you really need. And then you just need something that everybody has at school, like a ruler and pencil. And yeah, if you want, you can even use the magnifying glass if you want to look at the buds closely. But you can use the camera in your phone to take some documentation, but you don't really need anything specific for the spring part. And for the autumn part, you would need this plant color chart. It's the GLOBE tool. It's like a chart with different color codes that you then need if you want to enter the data to the database, because each color is like defined uniquely, so that we don't say, okay, it's light blue or it's dark blue, because we can perceive it slightly different according to our language and culture background, perhaps, or even the individual, how to say it, habits, how to call colors. So yeah, this you would need, but if you don't have it, or if you have never heard about it, you can ask your country coordinator, GLOBE country coordinator, and they should give you information on that. So what we do in our region, we have a stock of those, and we are just providing it to country coordinators if they like ask us if that they have, for example, 20 more schools who want to join the phenology, then we send them a pack. But like we don't have like thousands of them to send all around the world. So it's much better always to ask your office, your coordinator.
And last question, is there any areas in Europe that are lacking in data that you would like to just kind of give a shout out to and say, we would love to get data in this region in particular?
Yeah, I mean, shout out, we give we are very happy to give shout out to Italy. I don't know if there is someone from Italy today, because Italians are, they just want to partner with that, and I'm sure they will. And they are already promising it, and we really want them there because they can very much partner with Croatians and also with Maltese, and because we need the South European countries, more of them. And when it comes to the, northern areas, obviously we would love to have more schools from countries who are not yet that much in the campaign, like France and I don't know who else, Lenka, perhaps you can help me, but no, I think France should also join, or Germany more, but yeah, I know that there is always a, limited capacity of schools. So they are, let's say, more professional in other ways, for example, in air quality or hydrology, and yeah, it might be difficult for them to do everything.
Once again, thank you very much, Bára. Oh, good, Lenka.
If I can add something, it just, if you are thinking to do the activities, we just invite you to try it, like you don't have to really do everything. I think it's always good to give it the first try, and you'll see maybe it's too difficult for you, you have another activities, but maybe not, maybe you will find out that it's easier than expected. So if you are considering it, just give it a try. If you give up, you give up, but maybe you will like, and you will stay with us.
Good idea. Yeah.
Yeah, and perhaps I will just show one more thing. I'm really not sure if everybody is familiar with that. I'll just check if I have it open here. Oh, wait a second. I just wanted to show actually the yeah, it's here, the discussion forum, because I think it's such a, it's such a nice tool if it's used properly. And I know that trees around the globe, I think they also have the discussion forum. Is it still active, or Brian? Or it was
it's active, but not as active as your campaign.
Yeah. So I think that this can be even something that perhaps can be transferred, right? It's quite easy. So yeah, let me just share it. Right. So we have this is the homepage of the campaign. And here in news and discussions, this is the tab, news and discussions. When I click on that, it will take me to the forum. I mean, the page does not look great. It's just like a, forum. So there are the categories, the archived ones, and also so on. And if I click on Spring, right, here I see the post, and I can see if I can go to any of them. And here I see it. It's called Spring in Virovitica. It's from Croatia. And here I can see what they do, how the tree is going to see. There is another post. And it's really beautiful if you follow it. And it's not difficult to write a post. And I just want to say that you need to be signed in, which you can see here that I'm signed in to the GLOBE website. And once you come to the page, you just click on here. If you are not part of the forum, you will have not leave community, but you will have join community here. I am already in, so I have the button leave community, but you will have the option join the community. And through that, you can just join. And then you should go to this Spring tab. And last spring, we had over like 400 threads there. It's amazing. So yeah, that was the last thing I wanted to show you.
One more way for students to kind of highlight and showcase and just discuss their data and their photos that they can share with each other. Awesome.
Yeah. And it's like, if you're part of the community, you can see it, right? So even if you don't want to post, you can at least like see what people are, what people are posting there. So
excellent. Well, thank you, Bára. Thank you, Lenka. We actually posted all the links in the chat box. If you wanted to go there and view any of those that Bára mentioned, or Lenka mentioned, they're in the chat box. And Lenka put her email there. So if you have any more questions, feel free to reach out to her. So once again, thank you guys very much for joining us. Thank you for talking to us about the phenology campaign. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Brian so we can get started with the student portion next.
All right, thank you, Peter. Yes, thank you, Lenka and Bára, for that and all about the European Phenology Spring Campaign. Yeah, discussion forums are super important, and it's great to see, because I know I'm in the community and I get emails when someone posts to a thread there, and I take a look at that, and it's great stuff. I wish our campaign would have that much of an involved discussion forum. It's great. So, okay, let me go ahead and share. And we will get to the student presentation. So I'm going to share this now. All right. So featured student presentations. Okay, we're going to start off with Croatia. So with Croatia, we're going to be talking about the looking at the changing trees during spring 2022. The Osnovna Škola Rudviga with teacher is Petra. And the students that I have listed here, I know some have joined recently. I have Michelle, Emma, Sarah, Mia, and Patricia cannot be here. She was originally on the list. So I will go ahead and stop sharing, and I will pass it over to Petra and her students from Croatia to present, looking at the changing trees during spring 2022.
Thank you, Brian. Do you hear us?
Yep, we hear you, and the screen looks good.
Okay, great. Good evening to everyone. We are a GLOBE team from elementary school Rubrica from Croatia. And today, this evening, we will present you our experience in the European Spring Phenological Campaign. I'm Petra, I'm a geography and Italian language teacher and also a GLOBE mentor in my school. And today with me are my students, Michelle, Emma, Mia and Sarah, and also the others that will be a support for us. Today also I would like to tell something about support to our friends in Ukraine. During this campaign, we worked with the school from Ukraine, from the city of Ivano-Frankivsk, and we stayed in touch with them and worked also on the project outside of the globe. And we all wanted to send them greetings. And now, my students.
We joined the GLOBE program in 2017 and have been actively participating in the program ever since. As you can see on the attached map, Rubrica is a small town located 23 kilometers southeast of the center of the head city of Croatia, Zagreb, and 4 kilometers south of Dugo.
During last spring campaign, we observed the following types of trees that you can see in the photos: lime, fig, cherry, and birch.
We made observations twice a week on the same days. In this campaign, we cooperated with two schools, Ivano-Frankivsk city from Ukraine, and with the medical school Ante Kuzmanic from Zadar, Croatia. With them, we cooperated with FIG. We regularly exchanged information on selected from some species via email in Excel data table.
For this year's GLOBE Schools Review project with medical school Ante Kuzmanic from Zadar, Croatia, we will compare data from the spring and autumn campaigns. We have observed the FIG at the same time and on the same days, and we will compare our data and come to certain conclusions. In our work, we used GLOBE app and the GLOBE Observer app to measure the weight of trees we observed.
And now we will show you our work with the GLOBE app application.
So I will now open our activities in a GLOBE application. You see here is the picture of our lime tree, and you can see time lapse of our activities. When we stop, we exit, and also there are here all our trees in our surrounding, and you can see also how the tree changes through the years and the months.
We like to use apps. It makes it easy for us to measure the height of the trees.
In these photos, you can see how we measure the height of the trees using the climate meter. After that, using the formula, we calculated the height of the trees and compared them with the resulting height for the same tree using measurements in the GLOBE Observer application. Our first activity was to photograph a leafless tree and start to observation at least 2 weeks before budding. For this spring campaign, we started this activity 2 weeks ago.
And another activity was to record a date of bud burst and all of the selected branches.
When the leaves started to grow, we measured its length twice a week with a ruler, and sometimes more often as long as it changed.
Once we had it all, the data, it was necessary to enter it in the GLOBE database for each tree. We spotted 4 leaves. On this and the next slide, you can see one graph showing the growth of one cherry and fig leaf. I will briefly present my experience of participating in this campaign. I very much like to participate in both the spring and autumn campaigns. I like spending time with our teachers in both the spring and autumn campaigns. We like to see changes in school environment. It is especially interesting to monitor how one leaf grows and what process effect is growth, like precipitation, sun, and others. In these photos, you can see our activities. In the first photo, we explain to students in a science class how we perceive change in trees. In the second, we measure the weight of trees using the GLOBE Observer app. And in the third, my colleagues write data in a data entry table.
And in these photos, you can see how much we love to be outside and perform different measurements.
In the last spring campaign, we received badges and certificates for our participation, for data entry, and for cooperation. And we are extremely proud of that because it is a confirmation of our work and commitment.
That was it for us. I hope you liked our introduction. Here you can read the codes that will take you to our Facebook page and our GLOBE group page, on the school page, where we publish news and the events related to the information of our program. If there are any questions, we're here to answer them. Thank you.
Hey guys, this is Peter. Thank you. Actually, you caught me. I was trying to scan your thing there.
Okay.
And I thought that was awesome, by the way.
Yeah.
There are a couple of questions. Thank you.
Okay.
You couldn't see this, but as you're presenting and you showed all your badges, I was looking around at the screen. I can see all the people smiling because they're very proud that you actually posted that. And I thought, wow, that is pretty cool. So good job there with that. Let me go to the comments and start asking you some of the questions that people have asked. Brian Campbell, he said, so excited that you took tree height and used both the kilometer and the NASA GLOBE Observer tree tool. His question is, how many times did you take the tree height of each tree?
I think 2 times.
Gotcha.
2 times a week.
Не, то е measurement. Колко пъти сме мерили висину ставала?
2 times.
2 times. Okay.
Много.
Awesome. And then just out of curiosity, will you or have you posted on the discussion boards in phonology and the Padlet that was presented earlier? Have you done that yet? And if not, do you plan on it?
Реци да сме обявили на форума.
We posted it on the
Forum, discussion forum, not on the Padlet, but on discussion forum. We created the book creator and posted on that forum.
Gotcha. Okay. Let me see. I jot down some questions here. Do you plan on once you go on to your next classes, do you plan on teaching the younger students about what you're doing so that they can continue that data so that they can do research, in the next coming years?
Yes, we are. We went to some kindergartens and the lower classes, and we showed them our work.
That is awesome. You definitely should make sure you put that in your presentation. That shows activism. I can't even think of the word, that you're very active in your community by doing that. One other question is you use the GROW app. Can you tell us a little bit about what that does? For those of us that don't know what the GROW app is, can you explain a little bit what it measures and how you used it in comparison with your other phonology and tree height measurements?
It measures the
look of the tree.
It measures the look of the tree, the height of the tree, and how does it change from
through the year.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And was it easy to use?
It is.
Excellent. Okay, so maybe other students, when they're making the measurements, to consider using the GROW app as well in conjunction with the GLOBE Observer tool. I just want to say thank you very much for your presentation. I want you to read through the comments because you have a lot of great comments about your presentation. It's great to see so many females doing scientific work together and at such a young age as well. And if anyone would like to comment or add anything, by all means, please do, because we're very impressive. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Great presentation, and I really liked the slide layout as well. That was, aesthetically pleasing. So that was really, really good. A lot better than some of the presentations that I make. So, that's good stuff. So now let's go to the next school. We are going to go to Malta. So we are going to travel a little bit south, and we're going to hear from teacher Jesse and student Gabriel. And the title of their presentation is Trees and Us in the Gozo College Rabat Primary School. So I will stop sharing my screen and I will pass it over to Malta, to Jesse and Gabriel, to present Trees and Us. Take it away.
Okay, I'm going to start sharing. Are you seeing it?
We see just that really large, the half of the slide again.
Let's do this again.
Yeah. It's all a learning curve with Zoom anymore.
Now are you seeing it?
No matter what you try, not yet. We see you still.
Okay, hold on. Sorry.
It's all good.
How about now?
All right, that's a start. If you want to, yep, there we go. Looks good.
Hi, my name is Jesse Marchia. I'm one of the GLOBE teachers, and I have the Echo School of President, which is Gabriel Grech with me.
Hello.
Okay. Hello. Hi. We're going to be talking, we're from the Gozo College, Rabat Primary School. We're going to be talking about Trees and Us, exploring trees through the phenology campaign and beyond, the GLOBE and Eurasia, the GLOBE Europe and Eurasia region.
Our observations of trees. This is our process during the spring phenology, marking our branches, bud bursts, measuring and recording.
This is a short video which is very interesting.
Greetings from the Gozo College Rabat Primary School. My name is Jomari. My name is Nadia. We came here to show you our big tree. We found this big tree several times to monitor its growth. It was interesting to see how the tree woke up in spring.
This is the happy school students. We're considered the happy school.
Measuring trees. We learned how to take measurements of all types of trees. This was very interesting as it was our first time. We used the trees tool on the GLOBE Observer app, and using a measuring tape, we also measured the circumference of the trees.
Here's a short video. Wait a minute. I'm sorry.
Now I can have my screen again. It says that the tree is 12.81 meters.
That's our GLOBE representative, Miss Ramona Marchia.
While hugging a tree, while measuring trees, we thought that our trees needed a hug. Here is my brother, Raphael, in the middle picture.
GLOBE STEAM Challenge. We participated in the GLOBE STEAM Challenge, a national project between GLOBE Malta and European Direct. Even though we had saplings, unfortunately, our trees didn't grow.
Nature at its best. As you can see, nature has a funny way of getting us to grow trees. This is Miss Jessie's rooftop garden, and a tree, the sand-dried gum tree Sidrata in Maltese, the national tree of Malta, grew by itself in her pots.
Malta and Israel. We also collaborated with an Israeli school, which we each purchased a fig tree and an olive tree during their Tu B'Av holiday. As you will see, we got our figs from the tree. It was delicious. We commemorated 25 years of the GLOBE program as well.
Sharing with Israel. We shared our recipes and knowledge about the fig tree, and they in turn shared theirs. Spreading the word. The fig tree is Sidrata Maltese. We want everyone to realize that it is important that our planet have trees. Every year, we study a certain tree and make bookmarks for our entire school who share it with their parents. On the back of these bookmarks, there is information such as recipes, medicinal benefits, and fun facts. The importance of trees in the carbon cycle. Here is the carbon cycle. The carbon cycle is when the trees get carbon dioxide and release oxygen. Therefore, trees are good for us, and if we didn't have this, we would become extinct.
Getting the community and parents involved. We got our local community involved by planting trees and shrubs in our local playing field for everyone to enjoy with our village mayor. I would like to thank you for your time, and please,
Please plant
more trees. And that's Gabriel. I couldn't resist. It's carnival here. And Gabriel and his brother Ralph decided they want to be astronauts. The end.
Gabriel, this is Peter Falcon. First off, you need to read the comments that people are saying about you. We all love your enthusiasm. Most students, they're very shy to show, when it comes time for them to do their presentation. You are not that student. You look very enthusiastic. You're ready. You're revved up to go. As you did your presentation, I thought, if I was a kid and I was like, no, even as an adult, if I had to do research, I would pick Gabriel as my partner because I know he's going to do his part and he's going to be more than happy to do the presentation to represent us. So please look through the comments because you have a lot of great things that people said about you. And you have some questions too, if I may ask you. Let me see. Let me look through them very quickly.
Okay.
Let's see here. Let's see. Give me one moment. Let me look through. Okay. Bára mentioned that she loves the hugging tree idea. She said that she really appreciates that and thought that's a great thing to see. And Brian really loved the bookmark idea as well. Can you explain a little bit about the bookmark idea?
Oh yeah. Because we research really a lot about these types of trees because it helps us learn more about nature. So that's why we do a different tree every year.
Gotcha.
And if I can add, we also put down medicinal benefits of the tree. Way back when these trees were used, they weren't just wood. It was actually used for certain things, and to teach not only the students, look, this tree is important. This was used for medicine at one point. The parents see the bookmarks. From there, there's a discussion about it. It's really interesting.
And a question we don't get very often when we have students present is, one of them, they just ask, how old is Gabriel? They ask because your English and your presentation skills are so very good. They're just very curious, and they're like, how old are you?
Yeah.
If you want to share.
Okay, I'm 10 years old.
That is awesome. I was not this well-spoken at 10 years old. I think I'd be hiding behind the chair there as I did my presentation. Let me look through. We have a couple more questions for you before we move on to the next presenter. Just give me a moment as we look through.
Hold on. In the chat, there is a question. Grace Grain, have you made any of the fig recipes you shared with your friends in Israel? Yes, we did.
And did you eat any of the recipes, and which one was your favorite?
Jam. We did jam.
Excellent. Anyone have any other comment or question for Gabriel? Somebody also wrote that you are the 21st century kid, Gabriel.
Thanks.
And please, by all means, read through the comments as you have been doing and just see the wonderful things people have to say about you. It's very impressive, especially to do this at such a young age.
Thank you all.
Okay, thank you very much, Gabriel. Thank you very much to Jesse. We really appreciate your work and all the hard work that you've done. And thank you for being here presenting to us today. Okay, Brian, I'm going to turn it over to you, and we can move on to the next one.
Yep, and thank you so much, as Peter mentioned, from all of us at the Trees Campaign for presenting Jesse and Gabriel. All right, so now we will move to Switzerland. We will go back north in Europe, and they are going to be presenting their country, Uzville, from the secondary school Uzville, and the teacher is Marcus Euster. He is a longtime campaign member from not just this campaign, but a lot of the previous campaigns as well. And we have many students who are going to be presenting today, and hopefully I get all these names correct and I didn't miss anybody. But we have Adina, Linus, Lillian, Nora, Ranja, Anina, Andre, Liam, Janice, Livio, Fabio, Patrick, Amia, Nina, Sarah, Lazar, David, Joel, Jason, Fiona, Ilona, Leon, and Larissa. So we're going to have lots of students presenting as part of this. I actually met with the students and Marcus this morning at 1:00 a.m. my time, because we wanted to make sure, because they have lots of moving parts you'll see in this presentation, from a presenter to a camera person to someone who's running the whole thing behind the scenes. So this is pretty awesome. So let me go ahead and stop sharing, and I'll pass it over to you, Marcus, and students to present Switzerland, There for Trees, Flandern, Uzville. We see that on the screen.
Okay, so welcome to our classroom. We will share some of our tree activities with you. And here you see our school, which is surrounded by quite a number of trees. And we will show you some of the trees we observe in the Green Up, and then how we implement Green Up our green down documents from last year and some results. And then we will tell you the story about the 180 trees my students have planted last autumn. So let's start. Larissa is our camera woman and she will lead you through the presentation.
The wild cherry. In the first picture, you see that the wild cherry tree lost its leaves very early in autumn. At the moment, are all the buds still closed. Cherries are eaten with pleasure by birds, but are also edible for us. It was planted by students 25 years ago.
It's an old, the lime. It's an old tree standing in the middle of the school. He becomes green in the spring, and in the autumn it becomes yellow. The bees like the blossom. With the blossom you can do tea. At the moment the tree doesn't have leaves.
My tree is the hazelnut. It stands near the wall. There is not much sun, that's why it doesn't produce a lot of hazelnuts. This year it was in flower in the beginning of February. That's very early. Now I can see many yellow catkins, but not the little red stigmas. My tree is the birch. It is a very young tree. It grew by itself next to the pond. The birch has a beautiful light bark. Birch trees are naturally very tall trees. Here I am standing next to the tree. The fine leaves can be used to make substances for shampoos, and the birch sap can be used to make sugar. My tree is the beach. He's next to the parking lot. I think it's a good place, except that the cars are a bit annoying because they are in the way. With enough water, the beach can grow up to 30 meters high and live between 400 and 600 years. The leaves are dark green in summer and turn brown between autumn and winter. The approximately 11 species are widespread in the temperate regions of the northern hemisphere in North America and Eurasia.
My tree is the European hornbeam. My tree is next to the school building. I like the place where my tree is because it has enough space to grow. It is less common than the beech and not related to it. It is often planted and cut as a hedge. My European hornbeam is already very old and was allowed to grow underhided. The leaves have a corrugated texture.
We tell you how we implemented green up. First, we observe once a week whether the buds are dormant, swelling, or already open. Then we make a note of it and check back every week. Each time we take a picture of our branch.
We visit our tree once a week. We observe the buds. As soon as the leaves are out, we measure the length. We do this until the leaves don't grow anymore.
Wheat faces flowers very early, often in the winter. They have beautiful large leaves. It's a medical plant from which skin ornaments are made. Most of it is still in bloom.
The cornel is related to the dogwood. The flowers bloom very early and have the first insects to survive. The buds open in mid to late February. In autumn, small red oval fruits develop that animals and humans can eat. Currently, the buds are in transition from dormant to swollen.
My tree is the katsura tree, and my bud is sleeping. When the leaves haven't fallen off, they smell like gingerbread. Let's call it that. The tree blooms when it has no leaves.
The hardwood maple is widespread in Europe. It grows up to 30 meters and up to 500 years old. My hardwood grows close to a building and cannot spread at will. It has hard, valuable wood. The large trunk can be worth several thousand francs. Most of the buds are still sleeping.
We show you how we get the rice flour and the hex code. We use this app. First, you need to make a picture of your leaves.
Then you click into the picture and a box will pop up. Here you can see this box. Next, click on a box and there you can see the HSV like HSV and the hex code. We all document this in a table on paper. When we had finished the documentation, we transferred it into an online document. Now you can see examples from a spindle tree. In the first week, the colors were very different. In the second and the third week, colors were about the same. In the fifth week, the first two leaves fall down. A week later, all leaves was fall off. Normally, the leaves would be dark red, but my tree is standing in a shade. One remained mostly green. And here you can see the colors of the white willow's leaves. The colors change from dark green to yellow.
My tree is called Tree Witch Hazel. I recorded the leaf discoloration. You can see that not all leaves are the same color. It changes from green to yellow and later in winter it falls off. It is not always green or yellow. Some leaves have other colors.
My tree is the plant tree. The plant tree is a very big tree that we can find in Paris very often. It has big leaves and a clear discoloring into the autumn time. It has a very colorful bark. On the picture you can see how the leaves change the color from green to brown.
Blackthorn blooms very early in the year, before the leaves grow. The fruits look like tiny plants and are very sour. It has thorns several centimeters long that can prick you badly. The tree is overgrown with ivy, but you can see some branches without leaves. They belong to the blackthorn. Here you can see how the leaves changed color last fall. The leaves were green and turned to the color yellow.
Now we're going to show you the film about tree planting. The project manager of Dare for Trees came to us in Utzwil to give us an introduction about climate change. He told us why he was doing it and what effects it will have. He made an introduction to the project and the connections between climate warming and tree planting. In the classroom, we did some tasks about it in little groups. The task was to write down what we can do to change the climate for the better. They are here today thanks to the work with Bühler, who made the contacts here with the teacher, Mr. Eugster, who started the project with them. Our teacher, Mr. Eugster, told us what he thinks of this project and why he is involved. He thinks it's better that we not only talk about the subject, but we can also do something for that.
We are doing this because it's important to know about this topic and what to do about it. So that the students don't get bored, we didn't just talk about it, we also planted trees. We walked in the forest and looked for a good place. Here we see that we have made groups. The boys were in a different place. The same thing was for the girls too. We planted in small groups. First, we put our gloves on and started to plant a tree. It was hard because you need a lot of strength for the hammer to hit it,
Of course, teacher helped too when we couldn't do it. It was also a lot of fun doing something good for the climate, and we hope that other schools could also plant trees and learn more about global warming. And the best part is that we planted 180 trees. You can also see that some students were interviewed and asked what it's like to plant trees and why we are doing it.
Here I say that it's important to support the organizations who want to save the climate of the earth. It started with a cooperation of Wheeler and ETH. They searched the Tom Crowder Institute because of their sustainability. There they found a relation with Pascal Jenny and Therefore You. It is for donating for animals or other things. They want to trigger usefulness and don't only speak about the problems, to solve the problems. They are excited about the project. A week later, we came to Bühler because we planted 180 trees. At Bühler, we may visit the cubic and see how Bühler built machines, for example, to make pasta. Bühler also show what they look for to do better in future.
Okay, I think this part will, Peter, you will take this part with the question, won't you?
Sure. I would love to ask questions. First off, you definitely need to read the comments. You have a lot of amazing things people have been saying about your work. First off, you couldn't have picked a better mentor than Marcus. We've seen him many times in our webinars, and it's great to see his dedication in science rubbing off on you guys. So that's one thing. That's amazing to see. Two, what time is it there? I mean, it didn't dawn on me that the time difference. I think Bára mentioned it's very late in the evening there. And Brian mentioned that he's been with you since 7 a.m. this morning. So what time is it at your school?
So it's 8:45 in the evening now.
Wow, that is amazing. So let me go through some of the questions. First off, people are very impressed that you planted 180 trees. That is amazing. That really embodies what it means to be a GLOBE student. That's from one of the comments that somebody wrote further down in the chat box. They are very impressed. We all are very impressed with the amount of trees that you planted. And with your videos, as I looked at it, every student had a smile as they did the work. And I thought that was amazing to see as well. So let me scroll down and ask you guys some questions. Give me one moment. Bushra says she appreciates the individual as well as team efforts when class with different findings sharing together. And Lenka mentioned about, let me scroll up now, let's see here. It's so nice observing a tree that was planted by another group 25 years ago. That's rather impressive as well. We don't see that very often. Okay, so enough comments. Let me actually get to some questions for you guys, because there's a lot of great comments that people wrote. Okay, Marcus, do you have any other school around or in other parts of Switzerland that you can compare your observations to? And the second part to that question is, are you in touch with some other team?
We do have many schools who observe trees or who use phenology, but we don't exchange data so much in Switzerland. We rather exchange with schools abroad. I don't know why, but it is like this. And okay, this year my partner school comes from Ukraine, and as you all know, it is at the moment it is not possible to collaborate. But we are writing emails, and as soon we hope very much that we can work together later this year.
Yeah, and one question that we have is regarding the ribbon or knots around the branches. Bushra says, have you seen pieces of wool or ribbon knotted around different branches? What is that?
That's just to find the branch again, because when the buds are dormant, then it is easy to find the branch again, but later when the leaves are growing, it is quite difficult to find it again because it looks very different. And even later, you couldn't see this in the pictures because we are early in the year, but later we will put very, very thin threads around around each leaf, so we can for sure find the right leaf again.
Good idea. Okay. Bára asked a question. She said, her comment is she loves the follow-up lessons with a climate expert. How did you go about finding and making that connection?
Sorry, what was the question?
She loved the follow-up lesson with the climate change expert.
Yeah.
So how did you go about making that connection with them?
How we found one another to
yes.
do it? I think there was an email from the Bühler company because they wanted to invest in a sustainable project, and they heard of this tree planting project, and they were looking for a class, and they heard that we did different projects before, and so they asked whether we would help them and plant the trees.
Brian Campbell mentioned, he just says, wow, these students are my student research idols. So great job with your research. And Bushra also mentions, she says GLOBE is giving a new dimension to action research. And I think you guys really embody that. You really took the research to the next step by doing the activism. Can you tell us a little bit about that, how you went about planting these trees, and how did you go about deciding where to plant them at?
So this project developed with ideas from different parts. So Bühler had the company had the idea what we should do, and the people from the forestry were looking for a place where we could plant trees. And then, of course, my students were the most important people to do the whole work. And I think it was just a good example of collaboration of different people that made it possible.
A few last questions, because I know we're a bit behind on time. One is from Bára. She says, do you plan to observe the trees you planted? Like measuring the tree height and whatnot.
Not so far, but you're right. It is an interesting idea. But the forestry people told us we could visit this place 20 or 30 years ago. So when my students are older, they should be able to visit the forest of the trees they have planted now. But at the moment we don't observe them because it's by bicycle. It's perhaps 15 minutes from here, so we can't just visit it in the morning break or just after school. So, but I think we will visit this place later in the year to see how the trees are doing.
It was very impressive to see as you pan to each student, to see each one speak. It's great. First off, everyone's English is so very good. Congratulations on that. I would be very difficult for me to go into another country and do a presentation in a second language. So that's very impressive.
I'm not their English teacher, so I will give it to my students and to the English teacher.
So once again, just congratulations on some great research. Please feel free to look through the comments to see all the great things that people are saying, writing. It's just been amazing research. So thank you very much to you, Marcus, and thank you to your students for doing all that research and presenting to us today.
You're welcome.
Okay, Brian, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Yes, thank you so much for that and for being in school so late today. Basically, you know, in school most of the day today. So thank you so much for that. I'm going to shoot all of the teachers here an email asking for one other thing. So I'm going to be sending out some digital participation thank you certificates created for each one of the students. So you'll see an email coming out to you, and then I will get those certificates, you know, each of their names on, and an individual one for each of them. But I'll send that email out after this webinar. So I just want to make sure that they all get that. It's an official Trees Campaign certificate, digital certificate to the teachers and the students who are presenting today or part of the student research. So, okay, I'm going to, oops, sorry, wrong one. I gotta hit the button here. I'm going to share my screen again, and we are going to go to the Ukraine presentation. It is a video, but I'm going to show this video in a second. The title of the Station of Young Naturalists in Koval. Koval Young Naturalist Station is a school. The teacher is Natalia, and I don't have the names for the individual students, but I'm going to pop over to the YouTube link and share the video right now so you can watch this video. This is part of the Globe Spring Tree Campaign Green Up 2021. This is what they were focusing on, what they hope to continue, you know, in this spring. But they wanted to showcase this with you because they're going to be extending, hopefully extending this research, you know, throughout the year. So let me go ahead and play this for you. And I'll also mention that, you know, if there's questions that show up in the chat, or you can send Peter or me questions that you may have about this presentation, we can hold those for, you know, and then get them to Natalia in the near future. So let me play this right now. All right, so that was a presentation from the Ukraine group that they were working on. Sorry, let me pause that a second. You know, our hearts go out to them, and hopefully they are safe right now. I don't know, but you know, they're really dedicated to with the work they're doing, you know, in Ukraine and with the Trees campaign. So you know, our hearts and thoughts are out with them. If you have any questions for them, you know, we'll get those questions hopefully to them eventually, you know, in this tough time. But you know, we want to thank the Natalia and her students for this video, and you know, and the great work they have been doing at the Station of Young Naturalists of Koval. So the final thing I want to just show you is a reminder that next month we are having it's basically the Trees Around the Globe Student Research Campaign collaborative Spring 2022 intensive observation period, and it's in collaboration with the GLOBE European Phenology Campaign, the United Nations Environmental Program Grid Warsaw Center, or the coordinators of GLOBE Poland, and the Urban Heat Island Effect Surface Temperature Field Campaign. That's now an IOP. They consider themselves an IOP. So it's an IOP helping with an IOP, which is awesome. So we are focusing, we're having a basically a teaser webinar. It's kind of a kickoff webinar on Wednesday, the 6th of April, 2022 at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, which is also 8 a.m. Pacific Time, 3 p.m. UTC, 5 p.m. Central European Time. And we are aligning this to several things. One is the campaign, our Trees campaign. Another are the observations taken during the Spring 2022 GLOBE European Phenology campaign, as well as the 25th anniversary of GLOBE Poland, the 50th anniversary of UNEP, the United Nations Environmental Program, the work being done by the Urban Heat Island Effect Surface Temperature Field IOP, and also 50 years of observation from the Landsat mission. On July 23rd of 2022, there'll be 50 years of Landsat satellites in space looking at land cover and land observations. And then also we have the ICET-2 mission, which is closing in on 4 years of data, you know, and ours specifically looking at tree height data. So stay tuned for that. That's that information is up on the Trees campaign website. You can see the URL here at the bottom. We're going to be adding more to that, more information to that all the time. But the webinar, the pre-IOP webinar is once again Wednesday, the 6th of April, 2022. But the actual IOP will be April 22nd, which is Earth Day, through May 22nd, 2022, a full month. May 22nd, 2022 is actually International Biodiversity Day. So we figured we start on Earth Day and end on International Biodiversity Day. So what we're looking for here is the intensive observation period is to collect as much tree height and land cover observations as you can during that 1 month period, because it will help researchers, student researchers, professional researchers with the data density in specific locations around the world. So with that, I will stop sharing and jump back to the room because we have gone way over time, but
can I say a couple things?
Yeah, sure.
Is it possible to share the YouTube video of the students from Ukraine in the chat box? If not, we can put it on the website, of course.
I will do that right now. I will
That'd
put
be
that
one.
in here right now.
And two, I just wanted to once again thank the students. I mean, for staying up super early, staying up super late, or getting up super early, staying up super late to do these presentations for us and sharing their research. That is amazing. And two, I also just wanted, three, I should say, I just wanted to remind folks that in the chat box, Vesna Lempek from Croatia had put a link in there for anyone who's interested in collaborating with kindergarten students, elementary students in Croatia. I can attest to their knowledge. I visited their schools, worked with the students there, and Vesna is a great person to work with because she will make sure nothing slips through the cracks. So if there's anyone that wants to do any collaboration with students that age, please look through the link that she posted. I reposted on the chat box and contact her as well.
Thank you, Peter. Yeah, and I echo everything Peter said. You know, thank you all so much for presenting. Teachers, keep on a lookout for an email from me asking for some student names so I can create these digital certificates for them for participation in today's presentation and webinar. And then also later today or first thing tomorrow, depending upon how fast Zoom goes through the recording and processes it, I will get that up on the website and then send an email out saying that the recording is available. So once again, you know, all the presenters, the students and teachers, please, you know, go home and get some good sleep tonight. You deserve it for sure, because you did an awesome job today, you know, getting into school early and then staying there late. And, you know, we really appreciate this. And I know everyone around the world is super excited about that. And I looked and I saw that we had people watching the presentations from 4, 5, 13 or 14 countries today, and not just in the Europe Eurasia region. You know, we have from Pakistan and other places. Ghana was here as well, Argentina, so, and of course the United States, and lots of other countries in the Europe and Eurasia region. So, you know, your information and your research is going out to a lot of people, and as you know, a lot of people who can't be here in person. That's why we record the webinars, because we get thousands of views afterwards on the website and on YouTube. Primarily, people just watch it embedded in the website. So thank you all so much, and you know, stay tuned for the next webinar. And you know, thank you to everyone. You all take care and stay safe.